welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and a long overdue update on what I've been gaming and painting. So yeah, it's been a little while since I did one of these. Apologies, again, real life, things happen, and I've been away a fair bit, which is kind of nice, both for work and pleasure. And when I'm away for pleasure, I don't always take much modelling stuff. Take some reading matter generally, and sometimes construct some models, but I don't tend to paint. I might change that because yeah, might be going away a little bit more through the rest of this year and next year, so might start taking some painting away with me. So anyway, let's take a quick look at some of my latest painting projects since I did my last video. So first up, this is a large unit of Belgian or Dutch-Belgian troops for my Napoleonic collection. So people will know, if they follow the channel, that I have a bit of a predilection for the sort of minor nations in the Napoleonic period. I've done some Portuguese, I'm working on some Spanish, which is still to be continued. And I kind of wanted to do some Dutch-Belgians from the 1815 campaign. I picked up, I'll show you in a minute, a box of the new Warlord resin Dutch-Belgian infantry, and when I was sort of scanning around eBay, as you do, I found somebody was selling off a collection of unpainted metal Dutch-Belgians. I have no idea the manufacturer, somebody can probably tell me, and I picked them up, and they were very reasonable, and I thought they'll be great for the future, and by adding in a couple of spare Prussians, actually, you can see if you can spot them in there, I realised I had enough for a large battalion of Dutch-Belgians, so that's what these are. And they were fun to paint up. I wish I know the manufacturer, so genuinely, if anybody knows who did them, let me know, because I might well pick up another battalion of them at some point. Painted up really simply, good fun. There's a mixture of sort of soft caps and I think they were Austrian shakos. These were the sort of double peaks. They have a front and back peak on them. But there's also some more normal shakos in there. So that gives a bit of variety, which I like. I've given them just some standards from the Dutch. Some suggestion that maybe the Dutch didn't actually carry flags at Waterloo, but I think that's a fairly common theme in the period. A lot of battalions didn't necessarily carry flags on the battlefield, but they certainly had them and left them in the depot, but you know, rule of cool, flags, right? You've got to have flags. So that's a large battalion to join the Dutch-Belgian brigade. So these are the aforementioned Dutch-Belgians from Warlords. They are Warlord resin, and actually pretty good for that. I'm not a massive fan of resin full stop, but the Warlord resin actually was quite good. It cleans up pretty well. I know people complained about, I think the first version of Warlord resin didn't clean up terribly well. It was difficult to get a knife to scrape along without damaging the figure too much, but I found these really quite reasonable to do. My one criticism is they are very weedy looking compared to a lot of manufacturers. They're very sort of, yeah, very thin. In fact, let me just put, sorry, excuse my fingers, putting the stand of metals beside them. You can see, I think, as they come round, that they are, the Warlord ones are very thin, whereas these ones are much chunkier figure, which I prefer very much. But anyway, I thought I'd paint them up. They've come out okay. Very simple to do Dutch-Belgians, because they're just a blue uniform with grey trousers, and in this case a British shako on top, and the light companies had green plumes and green tassels if they had them, and the Grenadiers had the red ones. All the line infantry had white. So dead simple to paint up, good fun to paint up, and I cracked these out pretty rapidly. So another battalion to form part of the group for the Dutch-Belgian brigade. I think that'll give me 3 battalions so far. I may add another one, I'm not sure yet, but I've always got some Nassau that I can add in that I've already done some time ago. So there you go, more done. So next up, this is another one of the, I think it's Sarissa buildings. This is, I think it was, I can't even remember what it was now, a peasant house or something like that. It's for the border wars. It's a bit too perfect, actually. I might have to try and rough this up a bit. I tried to be subtle with the colours and just use washes and things to try and bring it out, but it sort of just looks a bit too perfect. Anyway, it's done and it's off the pile. So this is quite a monster. This is a 3D print of a Chinese pagoda, and I bought it on Etsy. Actually, it comes in various parts. I think there's 3 levels to it, something like that. I've glued various bits together to make it complete. But I wanted it as a bit of a fun, novel kind of feature for some of my Boxer Rebellion games. It's not something you're going to really put troops in or anything. It could do. I mean, it's got windows and whatnot. But more as a sort of focal point. I just thought it was a bit of a laugh to do. So. As you'd imagine, it's resin. I can't remember how much it cost me. I bought it a while back and I finally got around to painting it. Took a lot of paint. I had to use, I think I just used sort of normal, like cheap acrylic paints in the end and washes just to sort of save on the paint. But actually, I think it came out all right. I'm quite pleased with how it came out, particularly the roof tiles. Used a lot of reds because that's a traditionally lucky colour in China. So there you go. You may have seen it on one of the battles I did fairly recently, Boxer Rebellion games, when I had using Menu Will Be King, because I thought it was quite fun. So there you go. Another project finished. So next up, this is a small group of Bavarian light infantry, Schutzen, who I believe were rifle armed, or at least had some kind of rifle. And these are the excellent piano miniatures from Lucas, who was on the Plastic Crack the other Monday night. If you didn't catch it, listen to the replay talking about how he got into sculpting, his sort of ethos, and also talked about a little bit about what he had planned for the future, which is very exciting indeed. So I picked up some of the Bavarians in the last... He did a Tyrolean, so everything he's doing at the moment are Napoleonic from 1809, which is a sweet spot in many ways for the Napoleonic period, because there's so much going on and so many nations involved. So he's been very sensible, I guess, in picking that period. And I didn't really want to do... to be honest, I've got a whole load of Victrix plastics that I'm planning to do the rank and file for the Bavarians. But while he was doing his Kickstarter, I picked up some cavalry, some Schutzen, some officers, and some artillery to go along with the Victrix, and these were the light infantry. So I'm not sure quite how I'm going to use these. I've based them individually because I may well use them as part of a sharp practice force, but also I can use them for general d'armée. I just need to double them up for the sort of skirmishers in the brigade there, so they'll work pretty well. And the officer was an extra officer. I think it was, I can't remember whether it was a part of the Kickstarter bonus or what it was, but I thought he could be the infantry officer, so that's why I've based him individually as well. As always with piano, fantastic models. I mean, just really, really amazingly good quality. The sculpts are some of the best you'll find, and even a average to reasonable painter like me can get a good job out of these figures. But yeah, really enjoyed doing them, and did them because of Lucas being on the stream. So that's them done. So, as you know, I'm working my way through some epic pike and shot miniatures. I really have a hankering after doing the 30-year war period, and given the fact you get a lot of figures in the pack, I reckon I can do both sides reasonably quickly. So, I mentioned last time I did a pike and shot regiment. I got very... I sort of scared myself, I guess, because I tried to do all the figures in en masse on one sprue. So I just basically painted on the sprue, and you get one section of pike. So what's that? I don't know how many men in that is. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 to 40 pikemen, and then the associated musketeers. And I tried to do them in a sort of production line, doing the whole lot on the sprue, and it just killed me. I'm not being nasty about these figures, but they are very basic, and just the production of doing just got too much for me. So, and they took a lot longer than they should have done. So what I did with these was I actually just did all the pikemen together, so all 40 pikemen, and then all, 40 musketeers separately. And that worked better for me. And actually I cracked through these very, very rapidly. And, you know, they're done to, I haven't bothered highlighting. They are literally just base colours, block colours, and a wash, and then a varnish. And but they're perfectly fine for what they're going to be used for. You know, they're what are they, 12.5 millimeters tall. They're tiny. So there's enough detail with the painting I've done that they'll look absolutely fine on the table en masse, and that's the point. So that's the second unit done. So as you know, I'm working my way through some epic pike and shot miniatures. I really have a hankering after doing the 30-year war period, and given the fact you get a lot of figures in the pack, I reckon I can do both sides reasonably quickly. So I mentioned last time I did a pike and shot regiment. I got very I sort of scared myself, I guess, because I tried to do all the figures in en masse on one sprue. So I just basically painted on the sprue, and you get one section of pike. So what's that? I don't know how many men in that is. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 to 40 pikemen, and then the associated musketeers. And I tried to do them in a sort of production line, doing the whole lot on the sprue, and it just killed me. I'm not being nasty about these figures, but they are very basic, and just the production of doing just got too much for me. So and they took a lot longer than they should have done. So what I did with these was I actually just did all the pikemen together, so all 40 pikemen, and then all 40 musketeers separately. And that worked better for me. And actually I cracked through these very, very rapidly. And, you know, they're done to, I haven't bothered highlighting. They are literally just base colours, block colours, and a wash, and then a varnish. And but they're perfectly fine for what they're going to be used for. You know, they're what are they, 12.5 millimeters tall. They're tiny. So there's enough detail with the painting I've done that they'll look absolutely fine on the table en masse, and that's the point. So that's the second unit done. So next up, these are the emplacements that were given away by Warlords as part of the, if you bought one of the big starter box for Epic Pike and Shot, you got these free. They're resin models, quite fun to do. I'm not sure how much they'll get used. I mean, there was quite a few instances, certainly in the 30-year war, of siege lines being attacked and defensive positions being attacked. So possibly they'll be useful for those sort of games. But I had them, so I thought I'd paint them up. And they're nice little models, actually. Quite fun to do. Dead simple, obviously, to pull together. Just a bit of dry brushing and building up of different colours, just to sort of different browns, just to sort of emphasise it, and then a wash over the top. And then a light dry brush again. And I'm quite pleased with how they've turned out, with a couple of little tufts around the place to break up the base. That's them done. And then these are some more epic figures. These are the first cavalry that I've painted up. They are being done as Imperials, although it doesn't really matter. Apart from the standard, there's not an awful lot of difference between the troop types. They're not particularly great models, I have to say, but then they're cheap, so I suppose you can't complain. I can see what people were moaning about, because they're sort of moulded side on, but obviously you're going to primarily base them face on, and the face and the rears are not particularly brilliant. There's a lot of bulbous bits of resin and what have you, but you know, they'll look fine at 3 foot away. I haven't put a huge amount of effort in, as I haven't done with any of the epic figures really. Primarily a undercoat and a wash and a little bit of highlight if I can be bothered, but otherwise they're just pretty much as they are. But they'll look fine en masse. And the thing about the 30-Year War, which as I say I'm planning to do, there's a lot more cavalry involved than there was in the English Civil War. So that's created a few challenges because I've got to paint the damn things. Anyway, that's them done. So having done the pike and shot, I thought I'd do one of the heavy artillery pieces that come on the sprue with the cavalry. So that's there. It was dead simple to do, although I have to say cleaning up the gun was a bit of a pain. Don't look too closely at the scoring marks as I tried to clean it up. It had a bit of a mould line down the barrel, which was a bit fiddly to do. But anyway, that's finished. And the cavalry, these aren't actually epic. They are Essex, old Essex 15mm. As I mentioned, I'm trying to do an Imperial army first for the 30-Year Wars. And if you look at the army list, they have a lot of different sort of cavalry. They have Croats and Cossacks within the force. And currently, at least, Warlords don't do Cossacks, and they basically just do a very minimal amount of cuirassiers and mostly dragoons and sort of just general generic mounted cavalry. And so I thought, well, I know from the epic ACW that older 15mm figures fit pretty well. So as an experiment more than anything else, I picked up a few Essex cavalry. These are Cossacks from their Renaissance range, and compared them up. And I'll do a separate video looking at it, but they're not bad. They fit in reasonably well. They're little. Somebody mentioned there's a definite look about an Essex figure, and he's right. I'd forgotten. It's been years since I've painted any. I do think I've lost one of the figures. I'm sure they come in 2 packs of 4, but you'll notice there's 7 on these bases. So I don't know what I've done with it. I'll probably find it at some point and then try and rip them off the base and put it on. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, came out okay, and that'll be fine as a unit of Cossacks for the Imperial forces. So next up, we're back to the Bruce's in Ireland project. So no project is ever truly finished, and actually, genuinely, this one isn't, because I've still got some cavalry to finish off. I just kind of ran out of steam with them, but I happened to see that Antediluvian Miniatures were doing some new, I think there was a unit of Highlanders, Highland Archers, and then some early Islemen figures in their medieval range. And I thought, yeah, you can never have too many mad axemen in your Scottish army. So I decided to pick up a couple of packs. So I added one of the command packs with it, so that's why this group, which I'd already got, and I used them on one of the command bases. So the guys with 200 axes, they are the I think they're the Islemen, and then the guys with the swords and axes and shields are the Highlanders, and the guy with the spear and the flag and the bugle and the guy pointing are from the command group. I think that's how it worked with these. Nice little figures, really enjoyed doing them. Dead simps to paint up, all these medievals are, which is kind of why it's fun to do. And it'll be another group to put into. I mean, it could. I put a Scottish flag on one of the Scottish lords on the standard, but it could really have been. It could be a Bonyac as well as a Galglass for the Scots, so we'll see. But I think it's probably more like to go on the Scottish army. So yeah, there you go, another unit done. So next up, this is a small group of Bavarian light infantry Schutzen, who I believe were rifle armed, or at least had some kind of rifle. And these are the excellent piano miniatures from Lucas, who was on the Plastic Crack the other Monday night. If you didn't catch it, listen to the replay, talking about how he got into sculpting, his sort of ethos, and also talked about a little bit about what he had planned for the future, which is very exciting indeed. So I picked up some of the Bavarians in the last... He did a Tyrolean. So everything he's doing at the moment are Napoleonic from 1809, which is a sweet spot in many ways for the Napoleonic period, because there's so much going on and so many nations involved. So he's been very sensible, I guess, in picking that period. And I didn't really want to do... to be honest, I've got a whole load of Victrix plastics that I'm planning to do the rank and file for the Bavarians, but while he was doing his Kickstarter, I picked up some cavalry, some Schutzen, some officers, and some artillery to go along with the Victrix, and these were the light infantry. So I'm not sure quite how I'm going to use these. I've based them individually because I may well use them as part of a sharp practice force, but also I can use them for general d'armée. I just need to double them up for the sort of skirmishers in the brigade there, so they'll work pretty well. And the officer was an extra officer. I think it was, I can't remember whether it was a part of the Kickstarter bonus or what it was, but I thought he could be the infantry officer, so that's why I've based him individual as well. As always with Piano, fantastic models. I mean, just really, really amazingly good quality. The sculpts are some of the best you'll find, and even a average to reasonable painter like me can get a good job out of these figures. But yeah, really enjoyed doing them, and did them because of Lucas being on the stream. So that's them done. So finally, for now, for miniatures, this is a group of skirmishers. I just noticed this guy's musket's bent. This is Perry metals. They are Dutch-Belgian light infantry. In fact, these are chasseurs. I forget which regiment it was of chasseurs I copied these from. But were great fun to do, and I've done them, as you can see, is doubled up, because when I play General d'Armée, you need to have skirmish companies to put out in front of the battalions, so doubling them up is perfect for those rules. And there's nothing to stop me using them for black powder, or as a small unit, or as even in sharp practice on something like that. So nice figures to do. You can see they've got the mandatory green jackets that all good light infantry should wear, yellow facings, and yeah, so just very simple figures to do. I wish they'd had a little bit more variety in the poses. You've got mostly firing, but you know, for a skirmish group, that's absolutely fine. And will be part of my Dutch-Belgian brigade, what is almost done. So yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks since I've been back from my last trip. So I've got a fair bit painted up, which is great. Gaming wise, it's been a mixed bag actually, because with me being away, and then the club has been partially closed at one point and then reopened, and then Jonathan was away. So we kind of haven't played as many games as I probably should have done in the last few weeks. Plus I haven't played any solo, which is a bit of a shame. I'm sort of itching to have a go at that. Suggestions on what that should be. I'm thinking of a Napoleonic game. Kind of thinking of trying out the new Perry, well, they're not that new, the Perry Valor and whatever their Fortitude rules. The free ones you get, I'm thinking about trying them out, because why not? Might as well have another rule set. But anyway, games I've been playing. I played, Jonathan and I, before he went away and before I was away, decided we were going to sort of limit our game systems a bit, try and stop us basically struggling through the rules. Much as I'm struggling to talk now for some reason. So in the end we decided to settle on a few different rule systems just to make sure we kept it consistent and we could keep playing the same thing. And that was basically after we played an O group game. We hadn't played one for about 6 months or so, and the game we played was Russian. It was an early Eastern Front game between Russians and Germans. I'll put some pictures up here. I did video it, but I didn't record it in the end if I didn't put it up in the end, because we took so long to play the turns because we just were so out of touch with the rules and forgot what was supposed to be happening. And yeah, so which is why we started to think we must just focus down on just a few rule sets to stop this happening, because it happens all the time. I'm sure everyone else is the same. You only have to not play a rule system for a few weeks and you start forgetting, you know, kind of not the basic stuff, because that's easy, you remember those, but the sort of odds and sods, the little things like what happens in this circumstance, which if you're playing a lot you remember. Anyway, so we had a good game. It was good fun, but we only got like 4 or 5 turns in and there was no real result. So I think a week or so later the club was closed, but Jonathan came here to the boot room and we had a really good game of O Group. Again, another early Eastern Front game. It was unusual. Most of the scenarios in O Group, you have attack defense scenario. This one you had both. It was like a meeting engagement, both sides coming on. The Germans had to fight their way across a river and hold on, whereas the Russians were trying to basically push them back across the river. I have videoed it. It's quite a long game. It's going to take some editing, so at some point I'll get around to putting that up on the channel. It was a real humdinger. It was really good, and we've struggled. I think Jonathan and I both struggle a little bit with O Group in terms of attacking, but I had some new theories and I basically went for it. I was German and I went for it in a big way, and it was bloody, but it was fun. I won't give away what happened in case, well, hopefully it does go up on the channel in time. So that was fun. Then last week Jonathan was away, and Paul and Tony and myself had a black powder game down the club. It was a pickup game, 15mm Napoleonics, black powder. I've read the book so many times, and I've never noticed there's a sort of impromptu pickup scenario in the book. It's called Hold Until Relieved, and the theory is you have half the defending forces, in which case this case was Paul with his French, holding halfway down the table, and you'll fight lengthways on a 6-foot by 4-foot table, and there's an objective right in the centre of the table which he has to defend. After turn 2 he can start dicing for his reinforcements, which is the other half of his army, to come on. Tony was playing with his Prussians, and I was playing with my blessed Swedes, and it was a tough game. I mean, it was made harder by the fact Paul had some outrageous dicing, and he's not usually a great dicer, but saving rolls he was making were just unbelievable. I think we finally, by the time we got to a point where we had to close, sort of tidy everything up, I'd broken through a little bit of his front line, but by which time all his reinforcements were arriving, and there was no way. I think we had 8 turns to capture the objective, and there was no way we were going to do it, so it was definitely a French victory. Still fun to play. Looking forward to having another black powder game. I do like black powder. Shoot me, but I do. I really enjoy the system. It's a good game. So that was that. This week, having said I don't want to chop and change rule systems, Paul and Tony were keen to have a go at Chain of Command. Now, if I'm honest, I'm not overly enamoured by Chain of Command. I know lots of people love it, and I generally like lardy rules. However, I played it 3 times, and I think it's more the fact that the experience I've had has not been brilliant. So the first game I played, somebody down the club, I don't think I've seen them down the club for many times afterwards, was showing us how to play the rules. And you know those people who just sort of don't let you actually play the game, they just sort of take over, and that's what happened in that one. And then the next 2 games we played, there's without, if you don't know Chain of Command, there's some odd setup things that happen, and in both games we had, my side had the bad luck of having almost impossible to deploy anything, and so it was just a non-game. I think it was about some sort of bombardment that came in and stopped us deploying. and it just kind of, it was just like, oh, for goodness sake, it's just tedious. So as I say, my three experiences of playing the game have not been particularly happy. So but I want to try it because everyone says how good it is, and I kind of would like to at least have a decent game of it. So I think we're going to be playing that this week, and then maybe next week a bit of sharp practice, bit of Indian Mutiny again, because we just love getting those beautiful figures out for that. So I think that's what's coming up. In terms of purchases, excuse me, well, you saw the Cossacks that I've painted up. I've also got some other Essex 15mm ECW or 30-year war cavalry figures. So I can't show you those because they're on the painting table. You'll see them either on the plastic crack or on this one of these future ones fairly soon. I've almost finished a load of cuirassiers from that. But alongside those, I took advantage of front rank. Gripping Beasts were doing a 20% sale, so I went in and bought a few bits and bobs. I've got what's this one? This is Dutch-Belgian artillery battery, so there's 2 guns in there in the crews. As you saw, I'm doing a Dutch-Belgian brigade. I actually got it wrong. I've actually got 4 battalions already painted now, including that large one. I've got a horse battery already done, which I bought on eBay, really nicely done. So this is a foot battery to go with that brigade as well, because I've got some light dragoons, and also I have ordered from Warlords the Dutch carabiniers that they're about to release, so that will form. So I'll have a small cavalry brigade of 2 regiments plus the artillery, and then I'll have the foot brigade, which is 4 regiments plus the artillery, and that's the theory with that. So lovely models. I do like Gripping Beast metals, they're really good. So also I picked up Warsaw, Duchy of Warsaw artillery. I am planning, I've got the figures already, plastic ones, to do some battalions. Well, some are plastic, some are metal. I've got to do some a brigade of Duchy of Warsaw or Polish troops, just because I thought they'd be fun to do. So I thought I might as well get the artillery to go with them, ready to go. So that's them. Also, I picked up some of the officer figures from front rank. So I've got some. The only thing that annoys me a bit with buying cavalry and officers from Gripping Beast from front rank, you have to remember to buy the horses separately. We've got some Dutch-Belgian no, we haven't. The Duchy of Warsaw officers there, and I forget which ones these ones were. Oh, I think these are Dutch-Belgian officers. So yeah, that would make sense. So some Polish officers and some Dutch-Belgian officers ready to be part of those brigades that I mentioned. Other than that, yeah, it's been a pretty good week so far, so I'm looking forward to. It's been nice to actually get back to do some painting, looking forward to having a chain of command game, and I probably will set up, may not play to a conclusion, but I certainly will play a solo game, as I say. I'm thinking about Valor and Fortitude for the rules for that, but let me know what you think. Anyway, that's it from me. Hope you're doing well, hope you're safe, hope you're enjoying your gaming. Hopefully this weather improves a little bit better. We can actually get outside and get some fresh air for a change, but also hope you get some gaming in if you're not on holiday. Anyway, stay safe, stay well, see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out.